Welcome, everybody, to the second round coverage, front nine, for the challenge at Goat Hill FPO coverage, brought to you by GK Pro. I'm Zoe AnDyke.
And I'm Juliana Korver.
And we are super excited to bring this front nine coverage to you this morning. Man, the action on this course is just amazing. Silver Series Pro Tour event, and here is on our feature card, we have Ohn Scoggins, Nicole Bradley, Holyn Handley, and Fajkus. These players are amazing. A lot of talent, very different games, very different approaches to these really incredible holes out here on the Goat Hill golf course. We want to thank the drone cam coverage brought to you by thediscbarn.com.
Here we are on hole 1. This is 531 feet, par 4. Most players throw a low straight shot or a high turning anhyzer. Either way, the goal is to get close enough to be able to throw a controlled shot over the green. You can just barely tell that there's a lip on the back edge of the green. It obscures the basket from sight for most players on their second shot, making the approach more difficult.
Los Angeles, California, Ohn Scoggins.
And you can see everyone getting ready. Tee off. Ohn will be teeing off first with that super hot round yesterday, finishing it 2 down, putting her in the lead.
Once again, it was a very windy day yesterday to start.
Definitely to start, and Ohn puts her star strike right up the middle of the fairway. Second to tee, coming in tied for second place into round 2, Nicole Bradley. It's a beautiful day out here on the course as well. And looking for a little bit of flip there, but landing safely in the fairway. You know, this is a big par 4, lots of room.
There is an OB line on the left, but it shouldn't come into play, and it really doesn't matter as long as you are close enough to be able to go over the green on your second shot, and most of these girls shouldn't have any problem with that.
And we've got Holyn Handley tied for second place here. One of our FPO rookies on the scene this year that is throwing what I like to call a country mile.
That's appropriate.
Yeah. Great landing there, pretty far up the fairway.
Bringing us home from Canyon Lake, Texas, Fajkus.
And rounding out our feature card, Fajkus shooting even yesterday. Really excited to be back on top card and back in front of the cameras. Lisa sponsored by Team Innova, our tournament's presenting sponsor as well.
Really good edge control on that shot for Lisa, turning it over into the headwind, but knowing that her disc is going to come back.
And we are off. Feels good to get that first drive out of the way. Holyn for her second shot, keeping it really low.
So Holyn was too far back, didn't want to go for that over the green. Once you get over the green, there's also OB surrounding the basket, so it's a pretty tricky lie.
Great play by Nicole there. I think she was kind of aiming for the middle of the green, looking for some kind of a skip, but she got a kind of a negative skip backwards, placing safe. Owen's going all the way around the OB, not trying to chance it or mess with it. She's okay with that. Wishing for a little bit more. She was wanting that birdie, I know, on hole 1 today. Lisa right over the top of the green OB, just sliding it.
That's actually the play. If you're going to go straight at the basket, you almost need to hit the back end of the green and just slide it over to the top of the ridge. Otherwise, you potentially fly too far, and the OB comes into play really quickly behind the basket.
Nice upshot there. Catches a little edge. And lands, I'm going to say that's going to give her probably about a 22, 23 footer. Nicole Bradley absolutely confidently running that putt, and it still lands safe. I think Owen's got a little bit of a tree obstruction, but can go around it. Definitely running that putt with Owen's putt. She's confident, especially with the backstop uphill look. Lisa taking a knee, trying to get on the basket's level. Cashed. Birdie.
Very smooth putt. Very nicely done.
What a start. Yeah, let's get that GK replay. Smash.
That was a bit deceiving from this angle. It didn't look like it was going to go in.
And here's Holyn for her birdie attempt. Or, excuse me. I believe, actually, that was her par.
Par, yes.
Yeah, she cashed it in. No worry with that tester.
Though I'm pretty sure she's upset with taking a par on the first hole.
Yeah. And Nicole also cashing in on her par. It's a good start. There's a smile. And Ohn also taking the par, so pretty clean there for the first hole. The card's coming down away from that hole, one down.
All right, here we are on hole 2, looking at the discbarn.com drone cam. This is a 344-foot par 3 with 21 feet of elevation gain.
I do love this hole. You can't totally see the basket. You just know that it's just right of that cart path and the big, huge downhill, uphill. Like we said, it's actually a little bit more uphill from the tee pad.
It feels like you should be throwing downhill because there is a drop-off right after the tee. So I always have to make a conscious effort not to follow the topography of the slope down and point my drives up.
Lisa releasing a little bit lower like we were talking about with that downhill slope, keeping it out of the wind, and Ohn kind of following suit, keeping it a little bit higher. Up there, nice and safe though.
If you don't have the distance to get to the basket on this hole, I think it's better to be on the left-hand side because the slope is more gentle and you have a better chance of being able to see the pin that you're trying to approach instead of potentially landing directly in line with it and going up that very steep hill and having a blind approach.
Yeah, like straight uphill. That's definitely true. I'm playing my first shot on the left-hand side for sure. Holyn has all the distance to get there, so she's trying to air out a shot and get a little bit of a turnover. Actually hyzering out on this one, but again, on the better side of the fairway to approach. Looks like Ohn was holding a little foam roller there. And Holyn for her second shot. Kind of hovering up there.
That path is not OB on this hole.
Which, good news. Boy, would that be something else. Kind of a steep uphill shot here for Ohn.
The danger on the approach shots here is actually being too accurate and hitting the pin. You have a very high likelihood of rolling away.
Yeah, definitely seen a couple players going through that heartbreak this weekend. And look at, there we go, just like that. I mean, she does land on the cart path. There is a chance. Watch this action, though. Just, hits the cage.
Thankfully, that stopped fairly close to the basket.
Yeah. An upshot for Nicole for her par. Boy, that bird, I can't help to but mention that bird was not only in the GK replay, but is hanging out for the disc golf. It's like one of the spectators on hole 2. All right, here's Holyn for her par attempt. And she's in. Throughout this round, Holyn actually records a 63% putting average, so you can see some of that solid putting practice coming into play. Lisa cashing her par as well.
Once again, a beautiful putt by Lisa.
And Ohn in for the par. I gotta mention this right away. Ohn's putting 100% for this round.
This is hole 3, 380 feet, par 3, 22 feet of elevation gain. The hole is straight off of the tee, but you can't see the basket from the tee. There's a ridge that you have to throw over. You can just barely see the flag, I believe, so it is blind, but there really isn't any danger. There's OB line on the right and past, but it shouldn't come into play.
Lisa's hanging it out there wide, knowing she's going to get the hyzer skip. I think that's her halo destroyer there. And she's in great position to get up on the top on the flat.
Yeah, the basket you can tell is on a tiny little mound there.
pretty much about the same line, same play. And Ohn getting up to the top in the flat. I know she's happy with that distance.
The longest throwers are hoping and maybe even expecting to get birdie looks on this hole, but if you can't throw that far, it really doesn't matter where your drive goes.
Right. It's all about the upshot on some of these holes. Most, actually. Holyn might be expecting to get to the circle here. Throwing a little turnover, force over.
She's going to be a little bit too far to the right. No, she's definitely still putting.
Yeah, I believe that's circle 2 there.
There is a path on the left of the basket that you might think looks like it should be an OB line, but it is not.
And Nicole up first for her second shot. Just looking to get it right underneath the basket. She's on the hill. Lisa's kind of lining up a semi. Nope, she's just putting it right under the basket. You know, Lisa can get pretty, once she's warmed up and fired up, she can get aggressive on those long putts. I like to see it. Oh, so close. She's happy that it sat. You can kind of see that fist pump. Okay.
That was a pretty long putt with a significant tailwind. I think that wind might have just taken enough off of it that she didn't get that in.
Nice putt by Nicole there for the par. And Lisa looking to do the same here. And she's in. Nice and clean. Again, Ohn with that 100% inside of the circle putting stat. I mean, her putt is on fire.
And this is a course that makes putting hard, both because of elevation changes and footing and wind.
Yeah.
Hole 4, 605 feet, par 4. The trick off the tee is knowing your distance, and if you need to lay up so as not to reach the OB that starts in the middle of the canyon, which is blind from the tee, the players can see the fence, and most players will choose to lay up short of the fence so that they have better footing when they try to approach the pin.
Yeah, and this is a hole you really have to do your homework on in practice. You've got to know your landing zone and know your upshot. Again, most players laying up for the flat footing. I think that's what Lisa's doing right here and executes it nicely.
There is another option. There's a very aggressive option if you want to try to go down the right side, but it's pretty hard to stay safe.
Ohn just letting off a little bit of that power from yesterday and loving getting that flat footing. Same approach here is just hyzering into the flat spot. Good shot for Nicole there.
It's still a good drive to get over the green from that flat area.
And Holyn choosing to do her layup with a forehand.
She might be able to get a little bit more distance there as the right-hand side is safer.
Yeah, I like that play. If you've got the distance for the forehand, that's a good shot. There's a little bit of a backup on this hole, so each card had to wait for just a little while before the timing smoothed out for the cards. But then it was a pretty smooth flow the rest of the day.
So that tree that Lisa just went around, you can just barely see the pink flags behind that. There is an OB line that's pretty close to that tree. So she had to throw something there that she trusted to come back, or she was going to be going OB.
That was a great shot.
Yes, it was.
Ohn's just straight at the basket, attacking and landing at the base of the hill. She's in great position for stress-free par for sure.
This basket is hard to get to. It is both on a mound and surrounded by low-hanging trees. It's best approached from the very front or the very back, though the very back is hard to get to because of all the OB.
Yeah, I know each time I've approached this basket, you can't actually see the basket just because of the low-hanging foliage, and it's gotten me both days.
Yeah, me too.
But our top card here is having no problem getting their approach shots right up there for a good look.
So here you can see how that low-hanging tree is making Nicole go down to a knee to do that approach. That was a very technical approach because she was throwing uphill from a knee, which we don't practice very often.
Yeah.
And she had low clearance. She had to just match the topography of the land perfectly, which she did. There, that's the open spot, the one spot that's open.
Yeah. Way to give yourself a bid here, Holyn.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, let's all get excited. You guys can do a fist pump there at home. Let's get the replay. I mean, this is a huge birdie to cash in on.
This is a very hard 3.
She's coming up on the field with that 3.
This is a hard 4.
Yeah. Lisa's just not wanting any trouble. There was no way to even see the basket from there.
Yeah, that's a hard approach. You have to throw up while you're throwing under the limb.
Solid par for Ohn there. And Lisa as well.
That was well played by the card.
Yeah, the whole card really came away from that unscathed, and Holyn's stoked.
Hole 5, 327 feet, par 3. Normally this feels like a must-get birdie, with the only trouble being the OB golf green long. But with the addition of the go-to-mids, players now need to either try to get through the middle of that little gap or hyzer around the outside.
You gotta love the view that the go-to-mids provide.
I just think it's fun to say go-to-mid.
I know. Hanging out a huge high hyzer, hoping to land and spike and safely stay on the hill, and she does.
This hole is kind of deceiving to watch because you think the drives are well past those pyramids, but many times they are not. So Lisa's just trying to get down the middle there.
See a lot of drives landing right there behind the left side go-to-mid. Creates a challenging putt for sure.
Yeah, it definitely adds a feature. I mean, other than that, this is a pretty straightforward hole, typically with a tailwind, so there's which players mostly prefer to throw with.
Ohn gets around the side of the hay bales today. She made a comment to me about how tall those were. I was going, yeah, got to go around them when you don't have the height.
Because of the left to right slope of this fairway and the tailwind, you would sometimes see discs dancing in flight as they're being raised up by the tailwind.
And Nicole sits there. She'll have a easy look for the par. And sit. Holyn a little disappointed with that one. Oh my goodness. That was the most casual birdie I've ever seen.
I couldn't even tell it went in
Couldn't
because
see.
the basket.
I love that. It's a great birdie to get. Nice putt for Ohn, doing things like Ohn does, owning the putt.
Here you gotta tell how angled or how sloped the land is.
Oh, just a little low there for Nicole. You can see the players kind of get down into, more of a defensive position, trying to stay low below the wind and make that putt. Even the short putts, not to be, questioned that they're still tough.
Yes, certainly in that lane. Hole 6, 407-foot par 4, 35 feet of elevation gain. Off the tee, there are a couple of options. You can throw straight and low, or you can do a turnover around the left side. The second shot plays much farther than it looks, and with the added OB line fairly close behind the basket, players can't use the ridge as a backstop.
This hole is tricky. It doesn't matter what kind of a shot, what hand you throw with. You just have to throw your shot confidently and know your landing zone and execute.
Well, it's basically outlined completely with OB. So every shot, it comes into play.
Yeah, looks like Ohn gets through the gap and lands no problem there. Straight, direct approach up to the basket. That's the dream shot. Holyn with the big forehand here around the tree. Does she miss those branches? Yes, she does. Great spot to be.
Yeah, I really think that's the ideal landing zone in that dirt right there, because there's nothing obstructing your second shot. You've got a fairly good footing.
Ooh, that was a good bounce. You never know if you're going to hit some wood or hit a tree, what's going to happen, and Nicole stays safe there. So
I was more worried about the wind potentially finding the bottom of the disc and having a heyday with it.
unfortunately, that one was just a little bit low. She wanted a little more air underneath the disc. Didn't quite make it back in bounds. Throwing for 4 from here. Hoping to stick it next to the basket. And she does. And that happens to a player. If they can kind of take the positive of the good shot right afterwards, it'll certainly help for the rest of the round. Lisa's giving herself a little tester there. She's up there, but the wind is no joke.
It looked like she slipped a little bit on her run-up. I think she lost a little bit of power.
Oh, yes. We do love the little bit of hover slide that car path is providing. Sometimes it's a shot you play, you know. Ohn going over the OB here. Just like yesterday, she knows what she's got and what she's doing.
Perhaps playing the skip off the sidewalk like you mentioned.
Yep. Smooth.
Very nice.
Oh, Holyn's putts are looking good. Another big birdie. Again, I think coming up on the field on that one. Lisa, same story.
She's very solid on the green today.
She's stoked. And Ohn, lining it up, doing Ohn things. I love it. And Nicole makes...
Oh, no. Insult to injury on this hole for Nicole.
After she already, saw it go in, perfect putt, sometimes the chains just sway the disc right back out.
That's frustrating. This is hole 7, 276-foot par 4. I'm sorry, that's a par 3 with 17 feet of elevation gain. This is reachable with a nice lefty shot or even a righty turnover. You'll also see some forehands on this shot. I think most players are really expecting to get a birdie here.
Lisa with her really good forehand. I do like how versatile her game is. She's got a great backhand and a crush forehand as well. Good spot for a birdie look there.
The only danger on this hole is going long onto the OB. There's also a mandatory on the right-hand side, but it really doesn't come into play at all.
So far, this is an entire card of forehands off the tee. This one's much more of a spike forehand. She's got plenty of distance to get there, so she put it up. That tree will be a little bit in the way for the putt, though. And Nicole bringing up the backhand crowd. Throwing a turnover around the mandatory nicely. Sailing in. Oh. But she's got a birdie look.
I think all of the girls were expecting to be closer than they are on this hole.
That's about the best you can do from that position without causing yourself extra trouble or frustration. It was a good play for Holyn. Ohn, same thing.
Rare layup.
Yeah, we don't see that very often out of Ohn. She's playing some good golf. And Lisa as well. Not wanting to test what the wind and the mound can do to them.
Yeah, it's not a big mound, but it's big enough that it can sail you far enough away that you're not going to make your comeback.
Disappointing there for Nicole.
Well, her line is just fine. And, that one's not going to go in when you hit the band. But still, it's frustrating after just having the previous putt, which was probably exactly where she wanted to put it. Spit right back out.
Par there for Holyn and a tap in for Lisa. Gosh, for a second there, I thought she was going to forget to drop the disc. She got it, though. And moving on.
Hole 8, 565-foot par 4. There are two obvious shots off the tee. There is a tighter gap on the left, straight, and there is a hyzer gap on the right. The straight shot is going to allow the wind to carry your disc and give you more distance. The right shot is more open. The second shot is much farther than it appears as the basket is on a pretty big incline.
Lisa taking that right hand, larger gap, just landing close to the middle of the fairway there. That's the route I like to take, but I keep watching that inside route and getting tempted.
I like the inside route. I don't have enough distance to take the outside route and then still give myself a shot at getting close enough to the pin for a putt. I need the wind assist on the glide.
Holyn has plenty of distance to take that right gap. I feel like she released just a tiny bit early, but again, she's landing fine in the fairway. Yeah, so this entire card, taking the wider right side gap and all bringing it into that fairway. Decent shots off the tee there.
So I believe that Holyn probably has a tiny bit of a slope on her footing, which is going to make her timing a little bit off. You can't necessarily tell from here. The other shots are all in the flat, but Holyn's, it starts to slope up to the left, and it feels like you're doing calf exercise as well.
Yeah.
Trying to do your run-up.
I like what you said about it. It really does mess with the player's timing, and they have to compensate for what they're going to do with their release. On second shot, she gives it a good amount of turnover. She probably wanted a little more air under that, but again, just fine. And Nicole throwing up the right side, not even messing around with the OB deep, just keeping it low out of the wind and hitting the hill. And actually looking like she was giving it a semi-bid there.
You can see the green behind this. So there's a very wide second cut. That second cut is not OB. It is the first cut of the green. That is OB. But the green is like kidney bean shaped. So it wraps around the backside of that green. And it at least in your thoughts while you approach and putt on this basket.
I think this is my favorite, or tied for my favorite green, and I do love that tricky risk reward of the OB behind it. Love the stump, love the foliage inside of the cage.
The moss carpet on the bottom of the cage is nice.
It's cool. On cashing in for her par. She's pretty happy with it. And Holyn, same thing. She's coming in with her par. Everybody stayed safe from that green OB. Lisa, easy tap in there for her par. And Nicole, same thing. Moving on to our final hole here.
All right, here we are on hole 9 looking at the discbarn.com drone cam. This is a 438-foot par 3 throwing over the green with a backstop.
I love this hole.
This is a fun hole to throw. Definitely a fun hole to throw.
It's kind of neat too. And we've got a few spectators out here and hanging around the clubhouse. It's usually a little bit more noise, a little more claps and cheers. Spectators lining around the backside of the fairway where the OB is.
The wind is still strong, but it's at the women's back, which is helpful.
I think so. I think Ohn's play is usually straight at it, or, she's kind of getting a little bit of turnover there, but
I think she usually plays the left side, hoping that she's going to hyzer out if she's not going to be long enough to clear the green.
Plenty safe. And Holyn is definitely running, trying to get in
She
the
can reach
circle.
this, certainly.
If not, ace it. Keeping it out of the wind.
Looks like it's too low, the trajectory.
Plenty of distance, though, on her shot. Like I said, she's just going straight for that hill backstop.
This is another one of those deceiving tee pads where it feels like you're throwing from such a high elevation that clearly you need to be throwing down. But if you want to be under the pin, it's pretty much level.
Everybody is planted on the hillsides safe. Let's see what happens on the second shots. Nice and easy there for Lisa under the bucket. Stress-free pars are gold. Same thing for Ohn there. She wasn't even going to mess with it. So hard to putt those distance uphill putts. Great shot there. I know I tried so hard to putt uphill on day one that I let go of my putter too early. Caused myself a lot of extra stress. Holyn taking a knee to get it basket height and cashing in her par.
And it looked like she gave it a good bid for her birdie there.
Yeah. And everyone else will be cleaning up, tapping out their pars. It's a good front 9 for this top card of ladies. We want to give a quick reminder for everyone to go to the discbarn.com and check out their really wide variety. They've got a bunch of Prodigy coming. They've got Discmania, Discraft in stock, and we're really thankful that they are sponsoring our drone flyovers here. Thank you to GK for covering the FPO all season, all weekend here at the Challenge at Goat Hill. Taking a look at our leaderboard, Ohn Scoggins 4 down, Holyn 3, Nicole's at 2 over, and Lisa's at 3 down. She's trying to make a move. She wants to be in first place and giving it a shot. The ultimate leaderboard here, myself in 10th, Elise, Kona, Jen, Nicole, Jess, all trying to make moves. Ella Hansen is up there tied for 4th. That's pretty cool. Lisa and Holyn and Ohn. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on this front 9, and we hope you come back for round 2, second 9 coverage.